Messi. Messi. Oh my goodness. Balotelli. Aguero. Oh, that is extraordinary. What a head, sorry. What a head. Back of the net.
Hello and welcome back to the Not a Pundit podcast. No Boyzone this week, no Westlife, not even a bit of NSYNC or new Kids on the Block or whatever their name was. Connor, you might actually know that, considering they'd be a little bit more your era than mine or Nate's.
Don't
Gentlemen,
age me
how
that
are we
dirtily.
doing?
that is sheer slander. I am not that much of a pensioner, Christ.
How are we doing?
Very well. Newcastle are currently doing better than expected in the semi-final. Let's see if they can get to the final and break my heart one more time.
Nate, how are you doing? Obviously, with my double dating with the boys, we couldn't have you last week. How are you keeping?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back. I'd like to say I'm refreshed, but United had to go and lose 2-0 to Crystal Palace. So here we are again.
And at least you actually had the better weekend of the Manchester sides, and that's saying something. We're not going to delve too much into that at the minute anyway, because we are going to look at the January transfer window as a whole and kind of where we are now looking for the rest of the season. Now, in preparation, I did actually go back and listen to our Premier League predictions.
I'm nervous.
It was a mess.
I'm nervous.
At the end of the season, it's going to be grim, but I have to say, I don't think this window is going to massively change a lot of our predictions. Whatever ones we got wrong, we're way off, and whatever ones we got right, we're still seem to be pretty kind of right. I think, though, probably the biggest deadline day kind of deal has been Rashford. It has been coming with Kyle Walker obviously going to Milan. That kind of seemed to scupper that, and the fact that Barcelona can't even afford to register their own players. He was holding out for a move that literally never could have happened. Nate, what do you think? Is this going to be the reset that Rashford needs?
I hope so. Whether I think it is, probably not. Yeah, like I think the biggest thing United fans probably took from his transfer to Villa is he looks like a lost player, let alone is a lost player. It's a big 6 months for him. Do I think he can do it? I hope so. I'm not holding a lot of faith. I did find the links to Barcelona very funny. The most mismanaged club on probably in history at this point. Like they can't even register players as a yearly, so let alone getting Rashford. But yeah, I hope so. I hope he bounces back. But yeah, little faith for me.
The only club I can think of that is worse run than Barcelona is probably Parma. Before they went under. Remember a few years ago they had 200 players on the books, 140 odd of them were out on loan.
Sounds like Chelsea in the good old days.
Sounds like Chelsea last year. Connor, that photo of Rashford though, like his revealing one, it looked more like Gabby Bonlahor than it did Rashford. I'm not going to speak of his mental state or anything like that because we don't know. But just from a physicality point of view, he doesn't look like he's ready.
He looks lost, and like you said, look, if there's more at play there from a mental health perspective, T's and P's go out to Marcus Rashford, but he definitely looks like he's been in the doldrums, which he has. The one thing that I do think is encouraging that the Marcus of old is potentially still in there is, even though he was cast aside at United, he was kind of helping out with the youth players. Like one player, when Rashford's announcement post went up, I think he was a 15-year-old player commented underneath going, thanks a million for taking pens with me the other day. So like it's nice to see there's still a bit of old kind of Marcus in there. Like Nate said, I think it's going to be a huge 6 months for him. I hope the people he's been surrounding himself with that may not be the best for his career stay far away from him. I don't know if that'll happen, but my question for Nate is, obviously apart from the human side of it, wanting him to perform better, are you looking at it hoping he rescues his career so you can try get some cash out of him in the summer?
Yeah, like I think a lot of United fans will probably disagree with me on this point, but I think his United career is done. I think too much has been done now with Amarin and Pedat, as there's been talks of falling out, like public fallouts, words exchanged. To me, once that happens and you're loaned out, that's the end of it there. Yeah, I think he needs to go. Hopefully, regain some value and then start afresh somewhere.
What are you saying, Killian? What do you think of the move?
Um, I don't think Villa need him. Ultimately, I think that's going to be probably a more defining factor of it. Like, it's not like they were screaming out for him or a player like him. Like, they've been pretty good up top. They let Buendia go out on loan, so maybe they're kind of thinking that, and obviously Jean Duran going to Saudi, which we'll probably touch on again after this.
I think it's indirect.
Um,
I think it's indirect kind of result of that. I think they
but
just need an extra body, and it could work out for them.
to be honest, the only value I see in him is having a reasonable player that can play forward, be that either out wide or through the center, and being homegrown. Because like they have Marco Asenio, like what a like, albeit on loan, but like what a signing! Like, he has potential to really make a difference. I don't get that feeling with Rashford.
I think there's it's one of those, there's risk versus reward on this one, and if it works out, it could be amazing. I really don't feel it will, but like the other thing that I would be curious of is from a locker room perspective. Like Emery doesn't mess around. He has a very tight ship he runs over there. Rashford like has had the ultimate black mark put against him that he's a lazy trainer, which is the death mark for a footballer. Unless you're putting up, Ronaldo way back numbers, you can't have that against you. And also as well, like I think they're taking 75% of his wages if I'm right, Nate. And like
Yeah.
if I'm a Villa player on less than that, I'm like, what are we doing here? So I'm dedicated to the cause, playing really well, and you bring in this guy for more money than me. He's played? I've nearly played as many Premier League minutes as the guy of late.
Plus, like when you're after signing Daniel Malin, like as a fan, I'd imagine you'd want to see Malin more than you would Rashford, considering you're after spending money on Malin. And
That's what I mean.
maybe the logic is Malin might take till the end of the year to bed in, and Rashford would be there to kind of fill in and is a homegrown slot or whatever. But like,
It's a huge 6 months for Rashford though, because if the same reports come out that he's difficult to manage, isn't training well, it could be not the end of his career, but it really, really could affect him in the long run. And
at
at
the
the
top
same,
level, it would be anyway.
yeah, it'd be his dreams of the Barcelonas are it'll be Barcelona B. It won't be
Yeah.
it won't be the main team. And look, I hope it works out for him. It'd be great to see him back, but it's been a good 4 years since he's been like it was peak COVID when he was probably even on the off ramp of that best period. Am I right?
Yeah, in and around then anyway. Nate, does Rashford leave behind a hole in the United team now that they kind of haven't filled?
Um, that's a funny question considering we only have two wingers now. Literally Garnacho and Ahmad.
But you don't really play with wingers anymore.
Yeah, but then when you go, we've got Hoyland and Xerxes who can't score a goal between them. It's quite alarming, to be honest.
You have Ahmed, you don't need them lads.
Yeah,
Ahmad
And,
coming in.
and jokes aside, you managed to keep a hold of Garnacho and Ahmad through this window, which there was
I don't
speculation
think
about.
I don't think we were ever going to sell them. I think it was more just testing the market, if anything. But I think in terms of like how we've gone about replacing Rashford, I don't think we needed to particularly replace Rashford because he's literally contributing nothing. But really think we need to add goals, and we haven't. So yeah, it's going to be a very goalless run into the end of the season.
In the Premier League season preview that we did, the only position that you had actually said, Nate, that you felt at that stage, this is pre Ugarte arriving, the only position you wanted to see a proper another body in was left back. Do you feel a little bit more at ease with having Dorgu come in?
Yeah, I'm happy with that signing. He's a player that Amarin's clearly gone out and looked at, and big thing about Amrin is his fullbacks are vital to his system. So if he likes the look of this guy, then I'm well on board with it. From what I've seen, he's been killing it this season in this Serie A. His stats have been really impressive. So I think it's just about how he transitions now back in. Oh, by the way, did you see the tweet on the day he signed that Luke Shaw's return to training?
I was going to bring it up. I was like, it was something out of like,
You
you
couldn't
know,
write it, like you couldn't write
oh
it.
God, like bless him. Like I mean, he's the man's held up together with sticky tape and lollipop sticks. But like, yeah, making your first appearance when you have a new signing is something big. But I don't know about you, Nate, with the Rashford side of things. Like, is it a case where Paul Merson came out today basically saying if Rashford scores 10 and 10 at Villa, that it could really make Amram look thick, and the board have major questions over his kind of decision making process. I think that's slightly clickbaity in my opinion. I don't. I think the board have bought into a project rather than just will Rashford work somewhere else on the off chance. But what do you think?
No, because like I think everyone at the club's fully aware of the reasoning behind how Rashford's been treated by the manager. Like he hasn't just turned around one day and gone, "No, you're not on the team for this and that." Like there's clear reasons behind it. So I don't think whatever he does at Villa will impact that or have any say on it. Like I think everyone at the club will be hoping he does well because it'll drive up his price. Um, I think the big thing with Amarin now is to stop from fans getting probably a bit eager with saying this and that is we need to stop leaking the goals. Like, it's a very defensive system when it wants to be that we need to tighten up. A lot of fans have been frustrated with us not being willing to change the formation. I agree and disagree to a certain extent. I'm like, if that's the manager system, get behind it.
Well, it's not a Vinny
Well,
Company situation where it's completely not working. Like there's been games there where you kind of see the I suppose specks of brilliance that could come out of that setup, and I think it's just a case of he needs more time, and he needs the guys that he wants in that team, and he needs to just rotate out the deadwood as well.
Is he in the post 2 months?
Cool.
yeah.
When did he
Oh,
come?
yeah, longer.
He's been in since the start of the season now.
Amrin?
No, yeah,
No, he only came in what?
um,
December, November?
no, it was like October, wasn't it?
Jesus,
Well,
this season's just melted into,
yeah,
October,
you know.
November.
but like even still, like for anybody to be like
No,
Merson
but
before
like
Merson to be casting aspersions over like his position this soon in, it's a bit
one of the things
ridiculous.
I pointed out, and I think it's fair criticism, is if that formation isn't working in one of the games for whatever reason, or the players can't carry out the duty, it's on the manager to change that. Like in my opinion, in the game. So I think that's a fair criticism to have of him, and something I'd like to see him do is like, yeah, we like the system, we want to develop that system and play that football and get to where sporting was, but we also need to see that we can change and we're not just a one trick pony.
Um, considering yous are quite quiet in the window relatively, and with Dan Ashworth being gone now, who was kind of heading up the transfer policy?
Um, Jason Wilcox, and I think it was more of a team effort this time. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the team's going to look like heading into the summer or whatever. But
They did a Google form and sent an email around to the whole club.
They went pure Elon Musk. Vote for this feature. Vote for this player. No, just because I think, to be honest, the biggest move that you did during it, and obviously not having the one scapegoat of an Ashworth or a director of football, kind of makes it a little bit probably plants more blame at the door of Amarin, rightly or wrongly. But I think the biggest bit of business he's did, and probably the best bit of business he's did, was get rid of Anthony. You got somebody
Oh
to take him.
Jesus, that is,
hey,
if that's not move of the season, I don't know what is.
respect Anthony, man the match in his first game. Yeah.
Yeah. So what
All right.
happened to him the last to how long?
Now Amarin has questions to answer. Why wasn't Anthony playing?
Because he was still on the training ground going around in circles. Just to pull it back a little bit, obviously now John Duran is confirmed. When we were recording the last episode, it was likely to happen. It's now happened. Connor, he has a worse commute than I do.
Yeah, his commute is nothing short of carbon footprint heavy. At the least, that was what we could say about it. So due to the laws in Saudi Arabia around kind of partners living together, as long as if you're not married, you can't like a male and female can't live together. So because of that, he is living in Bahrain, and the area of Bahrain he's in means he's got an 80-minute private jet flight to and from training every single day. Now, his 320 grand a week tax free should tackle a fair whack of that, and I'd imagine that the whatever Saudi company or prince is in control of that club is probably footing the bill on that one. But
If
even
only
on a
there was a petrostate that could fund all of this.
yeah, even with all of that, like I mean, it's not good for the environment, but without sounding like a tree hugger, it's just it's terrible for even being around the team. It's not good for his body. It kind of sums up a lot of the questions we had about Saudi and the fact that how serious are they taking this league, in the fact that if they're having players fly that far. Like I know there's been players in the Premier League, like say Michael Owen used to come to Newcastle in a chopper every day, but like I mean it's still insane, but you're only going like half
So
an hour.
Sunderland once considered having a London training facility, so that
Really?
so that players could live in London. It was early days of Ellis Short, and they were going to have a training facility down in London so that the players that get bigger names,
Yeah.
they can live in London, train there, and then fly up for the games. It obviously didn't happen, and I don't think it'd be very good. But like this kind of thing isn't unheard of, and these kind of agreements have been kind of done before. Now I know Connor, me and you kind of extensively went into this last week, and Nate, I just kind of want to pick your brain on it while we have you. This is a massive move for the Saudi League. It shows that they're spending money again, but they haven't spent a lot of it, and not all the teams have been making these kind of big signings. What do you think? Like, they're still very reliant on a 40-year-old Ronaldo, and they're after losing a good few of their big names in this window.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused by it, to be honest. Like 30% of me is like, go on, mate, go make your bag at whatever age you are. But then the 70% is like, oh, like you were doing so well, had so much promise, and now however long you last in Saudi will be a waste of your career, in my opinion.
Well,
Um,
that's what we were kind of chatting about last week, and the fact that look, he's looking at 60 million tax free by 25. Like age
yeah,
25. Like I agree with you. Go get your bag, kid. But do you think that is career suicide, or do you think like is in when I say career suicide, I mean does that
Is
kill
this
his?
Oscar 2.0?
Yeah, and basically is his peak like coming back and playing for like PSV? As opposed to like the levels we all think he could get to currently. Not that PSV is a small club, but you know what I mean.
well, like the levels we think he can get to is irrelevant now because he's in the Saudi league. You know what I mean? Whether that's career suicide, I don't know because like there's nothing wrong with going making your money and then coming back and playing for a PSV or something. Like I think that could be all right for him. Yeah, like I struggle like trying to think about these things because I'm like, if I was his age getting offered that much money, what would my answer be? Do you know, like, and I
Also,
struggle.
coming from he's what Colombian, isn't he? Like, as
Yeah,
in coming from like a hard enough background, and where Premier League money is insane. Let alone that level of wealth. Like that is generational money.
like, and I'm like, I'm always like this way, like, especially when the younger guys go, I'm like, you don't know what they're thinking, you don't know how you think if you were put in that situation. So I'd never hold a move like that against them, but I'd be very aware of what the consequences to it is, which is, you know, you're not going to reach your potential.
And speaking of reaching potential, two of Ireland's young and like most talented players and are going to be key and already are key for us have made big moves relatively. Um, let's start off with the less obvious one and the one that I think went under a lot of people's radars: Gavin Bazunu to Standard Liège. Connor, obviously, he's coming back from a major injury. He was out for 9 months. Southampton not doing well, and they've signed Ramsdale, so good to get the minutes.
I think so. I think it even from an international perspective. Look, he's fighting against Kevin Kelleher, who is in great form. Like he's got a lot of game time this year at Liverpool. I think it's going to be hard for him to compete, even if he was a starting number one somewhere. So I think it's important for him to get the minutes in, get some kind of. Let's face it, it's still quite a strong level of football. And I think he's still a very young guy. Like we do forget this. Like I know he's been in our sphere for a long time, but in the grand scheme of goalkeepers, he's a nipper. Like so, he's got. I think best of luck to him. I really hope he does well over there. And it's I hate calling it a development league, but it's a very good league to be in to try hone his craft and rediscover his form.
Nate, do you think obviously Liège in Belgium are a pretty big team. Do you think this is the standard that he should be playing at?
Um, like I think it's a good 6 month loan to get back on your feet after a big injury.
Yeah.
Do I think it's a standard he needs to be playing at? No. But as I said, I think after 6 months you can look and go, could he look at an Eredivisie side or something like that? You know what I mean? Take that step up. But yeah, I think it's just step by step for him now after that injury.
And then obviously the other big move was Evan Ferguson joining up with a manager who shall be unnamed at West Ham. Connor, what do you make of that? Because it was only 2 years ago he was banging in double figures, and does he have a goal this season?
Yeah, I think he's had a tough time compared to where we all thought he would be. We saw that with the Ireland team as well. There was not too long ago we were saying that as a pod we thought he needed to be rested for a couple of games. Again, I think it's a great move for him because he knows Graham Potter. I will be the first one to say it very, very well. He knows the system. I think if anywhere is going to be an easy landing pad for him to try kick on and rediscover that form, it's familiarity. It's slightly strange that it did end up being West Ham because the club tried to shut that rumor down. At the start of the window, so I don't know whether it was him pushing it. I know his dad's one of his advisors or his agent. I don't know, but I think it's also a club that has really good values and a strong dressing room historically. Anyway, there's still a few kind of wrongings in there, but there's some good leaders there. So I think it'll be a good opportunity for to get back. Like again, it's only like for now, it's only a 6 monther, but like who knows, that could turn into a full on buyout.
And Nate, obviously Potter's in there now, moving on from Lopetegui, the injury to Antonio. They need somebody like Ferguson, but West Ham is the place where strikers go to die.
That's
Yeah,
harsh.
West Ham's a place where older strikers go to die. I've seen a lot of people a lot of West Ham fans really excited for it, and I'm happy for them. It's like they're getting a young striker in the door, and I think it's something that they've definitely lacked over the years. So, yeah, like Evan, mate, like I think we all know that, um, like it's a huge opportunity for him to get back on track. Huge club. If he goes and impresses, he could get himself a really good move in the summer.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very telling one for him, and if it doesn't work out here, he might have to do a Troy Parrott on it. But Irish players going to mad countries is becoming a bit of a thing as well, Nate. Like Festi Abaseli going out to Turkey, like he's probably the first Irish player or one of the first in the Turkish division that I can think of, anyway.
Yeah, I can't think of any personally off the top of my head. Um, to be honest,
Strange
I
transfer
was
that.
really disappointed seeing this move.
Yeah.
It seems like two steps back. I don't know why he's been sold to the Turkish league. Like from what I've seen, he was doing all right in the championship. Yeah, it just seems like a big step back, and he was a player that I was really excited about as well. He's got really distinct play style. He's got all the great attributes. So yeah, I was really disappointed to see that move personally.
I'd love to know what the agent's fee is on that one because I think that kind of commanded that transfer, and I don't have any inside knowledge on that. That's just from the outside, but that is a strange move for him.
I think in the scale of Irish football, though, and kind of like, listen, we're not a national team that has all Premier League players anymore. I think we are kind of doing a little bit of a disservice to the Turkish division. Like, there's been plenty of players either poached from there or teams that have poached from the Premier League, and they pay reasonable money, but they're playing at a reasonable level and they're in the Champions League. Like,
Oh, as an
I know his
experience, I like he'll have an amazing time. Like it's a competitive league. The fans are absolutely insane in the best way. There's
like
top
I think
managers out
this is
there.
one of these divisions that it's not going to stagnate his development, which ultimately for
But
I,
Irish
I, I
fans
think
is.
it lowers the ceiling he can get to.
I like they did like the Turkish league isn't where players go to develop, like, and this is where he should be. He should be
Turkey's where to go. Turkey's where you go to get your bag when you're like 31.
like, you know what I mean. Like, even, I'd be more optimistic if he was going to an Eredivisie side, because I'm like, okay, you get in the Champions League. There's that development
Yeah.
cycle there where you can push on and play against some of the best teams in the world. I just don't think it's the right move for him whatsoever.
I'd be a little bit more optimistic than you. It's one of them kind of ones where it'll either be back in the Premier League in a year and a half, like, well, much better for it, well off financially as well as physically and experience wise, or he'll be playing for like Oxford.
I think it's going to be, we'll see him again in about 3 years and he'll be in the championship at best.
As if he's with Sunderland, I wouldn't mind.
But you're going to the Prem, my man.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be up and down a few times, so it's fine. Like, by the time we're getting re-established properly in the Premier League, then he might be a problem. But by the time Sunderland's fully re-established and convincingly back in the Premier League, Mason Melia will be or should be one of Tottenham's main guys.
Well, you love to see it. Like it's the first £1 million transfer. I can't remember if it's €1 million or £1 million, but it's a mill of a currency that could rise as high as 4.5. So like that'll be unbelievable for Rovers, and like I think he can't move till he's what is he the January after he's 18. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit of time before he goes. So let's hope he keeps fit, no injuries, and amazing move from the manager. Came out and said that it was the club he wanted to go to. So it seems like he landed the ideal move for him.
Oh, I had to laugh though that when Sky was announcing this deal, that they had said that St. Pat's had won the league, saying, "Oh, Mason Millie had moved from St. Pat's, where he helped them win the top division in a very exciting title race." Not great when Sky can't Google. But no, I think it's an exciting move as long as it doesn't try parrot it being a
Yeah,
concern at Tottenham.
I don't know if you've seen it today, but Duffer came out and said he could have his back against the wall by the time he moves. To be honest, I sort of agree in terms of, I think it sort of happened. Maybe it didn't happen exactly the same to Parrot, but um, by the time he goes, he'll be 18 and a half. You know what I mean? Um, you're gonna be in a team full of players that have been playing in that academy for years and years and years. So I think he could have very stern competition. But I wish the lad all the best.
It's one of them kind of ones that when he arrives, he's gonna have to be treated as a new signing and not as an academy signing because of that reason. Like, you can't. It's like if you sign a player expecting him to be for the first team, you're gonna treat him differently than you are if you're signing an academy prospect. And by the time he arrives, he's no longer gonna be an academy prospect. So
Oh
it,
yeah,
it it'll be interesting.
but like, I think in terms of like what Duffer was trying to say is like, should he be looking at other clubs in terms of like, is Tottenham the right move, if that makes sense? Like, to say the top five in the Premier League or whatever. It's an interesting take.
And you never know who'll be managing them by the time he can sign, because
It
poor
won't be
Hange
Ange.
doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't seem long for this Spurs world. One of the teams that's always dominated our conversations for good and bad has been City, and somehow again they're splashing the cash. I don't know if they got particularly good value for it. A lot of the players, even I'll admit not to know a lot of them, but Connor, it's an awful lot of money relatively.
Well, the spend, I was looking at the spend for the whole league, and the Man City have spent more than the rest of the other teams combined, which I just don't understand how they're doing this from a financial perspective. They're already getting investigated on every which way, and from a financial fair play, Newcastle can't. Look, it's a bit poor me when I'm saying this, but like we haven't brought anyone in. We've sold and loaned out players with the option to buy to try solve our PSR problems, and they're able to spend more than the rest of the league combined. It makes no sense. And before I go on, for any of the comment vultures, yes, I know Mason Melia does not play for Shamrock Rovers. That is going to annoy me for the rest of my week. But back to
Liam Delap 2.0.
yeah, it's me and Irish players, boys. It's not my mastermind.
Nate, what do you think of a City's window? Do you think it's going to improve their form? Are they going to get value for money, or is this them trying to get ahead of any charges that will eventually bring on
I don't
worse
think
things
it's
for
going to
them?
improve their form. I think they need more than a few of them players to do that. Um, to be honest, I just laugh at it because it's one of two. It's either the alarm bells are ringing so loud that they need to get the checkbook and panic so mad, like crazily, or they're genuinely scared that the Premier League's about to clamp down on them and, they're going out and panic buying. So I think it falls on both sides of the coins.
Yeah, because they're definitely a lot more like for the future than they are for now. Like,
But like
I
some of
think
them
some of them
deals
could
were
play.
mad. Like I don't know like how they spend that much money in January on some of them players. Like it has to be one of the two. Like I'd be leaning more towards the Premier League angle, to be honest.
Yeah, probably. Like when you have what Kusanov for 33.5 million from Lens.
Well,
Like,
all the boys just scream panic. You know, Marmouche he played okay in his debut, but like
None of
I
them are like standouts, are they? Like
no, like when you're spending that kind of money, you, like I don't I like look. Don't get me wrong; they could turn out to be amazing, and I could eat my words. It looks like I will be doing that at the end of season review, but yeah, just like underwhelming for the cost output.
what was it, 212 million? Was
Or
it
it was like 212, 213,
like
something like that. Yeah.
you'd want like 2 to 3 instant impact players signed for that, and I don't think either any of them stand up to that.
the only one I think that's gonna probably walk into the side at the minute is Yaman Gonzalez from Porto, just because he seems like a little bit more of a natural Rodri replacement.
He seemed like a very late deal that was done. I don't know too much about him. I know the Twitter was kind of ablaze with interest in that transfer, but it seemed to kind of sneak in under the radar at the last minute. It seemed like either they identified him late or he became available late. I don't know.
I'm not. Apparently, they've been tracking him for ages, and they've just kind of been their hand has been forced. With obviously Rodri not going to come back now to the end of the season, that it's like, well, whether we want to pay this level of money for him, we need him now, and we can afford it. Apparently, like Connor, you did mention Newcastle. Lloyd Kelly going to Juventus. Where the hell did that come out of?
It came out of my absolute dreams. It is the PSR stuff of absolute dreams. But yeah, no jokes aside, I really did not see that one coming. I don't even think he did. Look, fair play to him. Not too long ago, he was at Bournemouth, came to the Toon, and he's now managed to get over to one of the biggest clubs in the world. So fair play to him.
Is there any obligation to buy or anything
Yeah,
like that?
there is. Yeah, obligation to buy post loan. I think it's 20 million. So
And
we
how much did you spend on him?
I cannot remember. I remember when we bought him though. That was that was the window where it was like we were just getting absolute randos in. Like this is our third January in a row where we've signed nobody. Like it's a very barren time up at the Toon. Like we I think we've just been trying to put ourselves in a financial place to buy in the summer. Like I know we got rid of Miggy Almiron, which we discussed last week. Great servant of the club. Good, like probably was time to go. Sad to see him go because he's a good kind of dressing room guy. But yeah, it's kind of between our last summer window and this January window. It's getting a bit stale, you know.
Well, especially when you want to be kind of pushing on. But you aren't the only ones that aren't signing in January. And again, ballsy not to do it, Nate, is Liverpool. Like,
Yeah, do they need to? That's the question. Um,
maybe not, but like,
yeah,
it was a quiet summer.
Even for competition, get a few guys in to keep people on their toes. You know.
Guys, just touching on Lloyd Kelly transfer real quick. That is there's something dodgy going on there. I can tell you that. What,
At
what if
Newcastle? No.
It bangs of an Elliot Anderson
there's
type.
some Saudi payment going into Juventus there or something like they take him off your hands?
You'll see Cella being their next sponsor. Yeah.
How dare you? Juventus is notoriously clean.
Yeah, and Newcastle love finding creative ways to clean their PSR, but we'll move on. Yeah, Liverpool. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, I don't think they need to improve. Like, I don't know if there's a standout position that they can improve. To be honest, without spending like a lot of money, and I think a lot of their focus will be on saving their PSR room to see do they have to replace 3 players at the end of the season.
Lads, like genuinely, I know this just sounds like I'm coming at it with my black tinted glasses of Newcastle, but like we need to adjust PSR. It isn't its current way is not viable to growing the resources in the league based off the cost of players now.
Or are we just having this little hangover where the cost of players hasn't adjusted to PSR? Because don't forget they were
Yeah.
so overinflated when the big broadcast deal came in. Is this the league just trying to overcorrect from that now, and it might just take a year or two for clubs to kind of go, oh, actually, well, they're deciding not to spend the money, so well,
Well,
we're not going to get it. We have to adjust our prices.
well, if wages keep going up, transfer fees are going to need to go up to accommodate those wages. The TV deals are only going to get bigger. The sponsorship, whether it's front sponsor, sleeve sponsor, you name it, the money's only going to get higher and higher and higher. So like, yeah, it's something for me needs to change. But I think the more obvious one is just to adjust what it is currently formatted as, because look, I'm not looking to buy Kylian Mbappe, but when we're really delighted to get 12 million player out the door and a potential 20 million player out the door, like, come on.
I said it last week. I think he's just aren't ballsy enough. Look at Forest. They took the slap.
Yeah, why not
Like,
take a point deduction? Like, why?
yeah,
Why?
just play within the rules. Overspend now. Break the
Boys,
rules
this is
slightly.
not the
Break the
beautiful
rules,
game.
mate.
This is
Break
not the
the rules. Why are you scared? Like,
who are we, Man City? Like, come on, boys.
No, the difference is you'll actually get the points deduction, and like you can afford to drop a place or two. Like you are on the edge of Europe anyway, but if you could almost guarantee Champions League next year by spending a load of money, well, will you not just do that?
what happens if all the teams agree to break the rules together?
But that's like saying, let's have a steroid Olympics. You know what I mean?
Don't forget they all have to vote for the rule anyway, so they would be just breaking their own decisions.
What happens
Just
if
think,
like
I do think the easier way, like I said, is to not scrap PSR. There still needs to be some sort of oversight, but its current form does not work.
to be honest, I'm at the point where I'm just like scrap it all, let them all go free. Let's see what happens. Let's
This
see how quickly we can burn this game now.
But like I know, like I really going back to the days of like when Abramovich first came in and was just flashing the cash everywhere. Like I know you could say it's anti-competitive, unfair advantage, but it was just kind of the luck of the draw. You'd a rich owner. That's some like any business, more investment opportunities for richer backers. Like it's just the way it works. Like unless we're going down the route of a salary cap or something that's league wide to control spending in some description. But I think if you shouldn't be hamstrung because other clubs can't have the same resources to bring in players. Like
Yeah, I'll back you up on that. And like, I know people are going to call me biased there because I support a big club that can spend a lot of money, but lads, I think the league's got more boring the more we restrict clubs. Like,
100%.
I think there should be a level that we agree is absurd, but like I want to see like clubs signing unreal players every window. Like that's what I want to see. I don't want to see this where clubs are penny pinching here, penny pinching there. To me, it makes it boring and makes it more like we're going towards a franchise type of system rather than an open market.
It also it perfectly put, Nate, but it also puts off investors investing in lower clubs. Like the PIF wouldn't even bother with an Ipswich because there's no point for them. They can't invest the volume of cash needed to turn that club around. So like
They
it's
bothered with Newcastle.
But
I
look,
will take that. I will take that stray bullet. But you know what I mean. Like for me, I like the idea of, I don't know, some Ed Sheeran type with even more cash comes in and can fully invest in Ipswich to really change their fortunes for years.
See, I think, Killian, you're on the other side of the argument, probably to us personally, because, I think Sunderland is benefiting off of where they can go and get an Enzo Lafie or whatever. It is two sides of the coin, but like, which one's better for the sport, in my opinion?
Well, one thing I'm going to say with the Sunderland thing is we have a billionaire owner as well.
Oh
So
yeah,
if there was no rules, we could, if he so decided, despite the fact that he's younger than me, he
Forgot
could
that.
go and splash the cash and buy the league, basically. It's not how he wants to do things, and it's not how we're going to do things, regardless of the rules. But the league has gotten better because of it.
The
Maybe
Prem.
not. The Premier League has gotten better in terms of entertainment. We keep saying how great it is to see the likes of Forest and Bournemouth and Villa and Fulham and all these teams now competing, that the traditional Big Four has been broken. And that's only down to PSR.
is that good for the game though?
It's good for the league.
There's two
Is
sides to
it
this
though?
coin,
Is
I
it?
think.
Good for the league.
Is it? No,
Yes.
Like you cited Forest there. Forest spent more money than God, brought in more players than they have room for. Villa have done it very well, I will say. They've navigated PSR incredibly well.
Forest broke the rules. Forest got the slap on the wrist as per the rules, and Forest have the rules have worked, and they've used the rules to great advantage. It's like what Neymar would use: get a red card and then go and party with his sister that he definitely didn't fancy. Like, you can play within the rules and still break the rules as long as you're actually
Yeah, but like we
taking
shouldn't
the slap.
we
go
shouldn't
on.
be playing in that grey area. Like, as in, it shouldn't be the only way you can succeed is break the rules. Because then if we're gonna have that world,
No, they're the only example we have of it actually working, and that's why they're so fun. But when you look at the likes of a Brighton or a Brentford or a Fulham, a lot more sustainable and probably a lot more long term successful.
Okay, I'm gonna be an entitled little beep real quick. All right. Um, is it good for the league that Tottenham are 14th? Is it good for the league that United are 13th? Is it good for the league that West Ham are 15th? Is it good for the league that Everton are 16th? I don't think it is.
I don't I don't
I don't think them clubs would be there if PSR it didn't exist. Do
And
you know what I mean?
I think in the short term for TV viewings, it's good for the league. In
I
terms of
don't.
long term for the league, though, or even medium term, I totally agree with you. Like, as in, don't get me wrong. Like every team can have an off season. There was that year where United were in like eighth when Fergie was the gaffer. But like, I agree with you. Like it should at least, with all the teams. I think the easiest way to put it is every team should be able to equip their team with the resources they want to a point. I think the easiest way to do that is a salary cap, but your transfer fees can be not unlimited, but put a cap on it that is higher than available now. Because all that we're doing, and every club is doing, is financial gymnastics. That is all it is. It's how the hell can we scrape another million here? And the last point I'll say is, and we've seen this at Man United especially, this whole kind of sell the players that you brought up to get even more of a PSR benefit is so bad for English football.
Oh, it's terrible. And not only that is every March I get told Manchester United have broken revenue records. This, that, the other, crazy sponsorship deals, this, that, and the other. And then every transfer window I get told, yeah, we can't do much with PSR. Like it like
What's the point then?
like the contradiction there is like absurd. Like us fans that pay their hard earned money to go watch their team, we can't then reinvest that to whatever degree we deem necessary. To me, that's where it falls short. Is it lacks basic fundamentals. I think where there's nothing wrong to me, and I think we all grew up loving this football. Is there's nothing wrong with there being 5 or 6 big boys. Like
No, and
there's
and
nothing
and
wrong with that.
I want the big boys to be able to go and hunt whoever the hell they can convince to come play for them. Like that, like back in the day, like Man United bought whoever they wanted, and it made the league exciting. Yes, you could argue it was Bayern Munich monopoly, but it. I think the product was better then because there was not that there's poor players in the Premier League. I'm not saying that, but it's hard to elevate the players in the league within the current setup.
Lads, this is all just sour grapes. Just because yous can't spend, the other big clubs can. Chelsea have, City have. All their charges predate the current rules, so they're still playing within it. Hasn't stopped Liverpool from spending big. Uh, Arsenal signed Rice for over 100 million. So this just sounds like yous have financial problems.
No,
Yeah,
it
yous are
doesn't.
bringing the money in, but yous can't balance your
Yeah.
books. This is a you problem. The league is now more entertaining. Nobody is safe anymore, which is bloody great. We're seeing a lot more small players and small clubs getting their flowers when they didn't before. This is like the Premier League has never been better and has never been more watched than it is now. And just because it's not working for you guys, don't be bitter about it. Move
Nate,
on.
Nate is it me or does he sound like a mortgage advisor or
Oh,
some annoying accountant? Like,
just tell us you want English football to be a franchise system. Just say it, like,
yeah,
because
like he
I'm
wants a salary
just
cap, a
saying.
draft. He wants a
No,
feckin'
no. You're the one that was talking about salary cap, Connor. You're the one that was talking about salary caps and transfer caps. The way it's working now is do not bankrupt yourself. And just because yous can't get your books in order,
We're
like
not going
how
to
can
bankrupt
Chelsea go and do
ourselves.
it and yous can't?
We're not
because
going to try.
they're fudging those numbers allegedly, so we don't get sued. They are going to have serious city level issues, and that is why it is so important that City get absolutely pasted for these charges, which they won't. And then they won't, Chelsea won't, and then it's game on anyway. So we may as well readjust the system.
But
Well, instead of taking all this money off of former players and stuff, maybe the likes of a Jim Ratcliffe should be actually putting it into accountants. Because if everybody else can make it work, he should be able to.
But where I don't want it to.
Newcastle literally have a state's money and you just
we're
can't spend it. This sounds like a used
we're
problem,
nowhere
honestly.
near bankrupting ourselves. Number one, like the money we bring in yearly could pay off our debt every year, like literally every year. Like so,
And why
so
don't you? You
because
might be in a
Well,
position actually.
that's a different. That's a
it's
Glazer
not, yeah,
situation.
it's not in our best interest. Number one, to do it, like that's a fact, especially with PSR around. But if the top 6 clubs are bringing in the most revenue to the league and everyone else is benefiting off that, why should we be hamstrung to use that money? Like,
Football is about having the best players who score top bin goals, not having the best accountants and the best suits in the building. That is where this is like we're going that way, where your best asset is going to be your CFO, and that is wrong.
This is why the league is better, is when you have all of the clubs no longer reliant on these big clubs, when every position is up for grabs,
no,
when
they are
small teams
reliant
can
on
actually...
us.
No.
They are. Trust me, if the top 6 teams left, if Super League came up tomorrow and the top 6 teams left, English football will be left in
On
shambles.
its knees.
That's just a fact. So the smaller clubs,
As it stands right now. But the thing is, these
No.
rules are not for the here and now
No,
necessarily.
but
You have to implement them now for a payoff in a number of years. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, Brighton was nowhere. Now they're actually a big
But
team.
you can't do that. Like if 5 or 6,
But they did.
but if 5 or 6
But
big
they did.
clubs are bringing in the most revenue, you can't then just turn around and go, "Oh, we're going to pull that back." And this is just a fact. You can call it what it is. Manchester United offer more to English football than Sunderland do. That's a fact because of the revenue that we bring in, the eyes that we bring in. So like,
It's a more
that-
marketable
there has-
product that brings
there
eyes
has-
to the league.
there has like Sunderland is like,
So
for example,
yous are more pushing for the franchise thing. So if you're going
No,
down that financial
no,
thing,
no,
having
no.
these imported
No.
fans and having no culture
No,
is
we're-
not the way forward.
we're going for an open market. We're literally going. That's what I'm saying. It's an open market where there is absurdities that you can't do, but let the clubs dictate between themselves. There shouldn't be a overshadow of an overlord that's like you can't go bankrupt. If a club goes bankrupt, the club goes bankrupt. In my opinion.
I'm much happier when there's no teams in administration in the Premier League, and it's been a long time since it's happened. So I think we're in a much better position as a league, and it's been a lot more egalitarian it works. Plus, like it's forcing teams to be more clever, and like we can't be saying like, oh, it's great to see Matoma come in and break through, and then saying, oh, but we should only be spending all the big money. If all this big money becomes the big thing, well, then you're going to lose players like that into the mix.
It's factually making football more boring, in my opinion. We want to see super teams versus super teams. We don't get that nowadays.
So you want a Super League?
No.
What you just said was you want to see super teams versus super teams, and if the league is so reliant on the big clubs, well, then maybe all the big clubs go together. Super League.
That's a way wider question. That like we just want to see the best league possible in the Premier League, and
the best league possible is when there was 4 teams got Champions League and everybody else.
But who says it has to be 4? This is my point, because
that's what happened.
I know
that was the reality for 15 years.
Yes,
Leicester City won the league. Leicester City literally won the league. But let me say this:
when PSR and all was in,
I want to see a Super United team versus a Super Chelsea team. But I also love the fact that a Brighton can go and beat United.
And it only happened when the rules came in.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it did. It literally did.
Leicester literally won.
When there was financial rules in place.
Huh?
When the financial rules were in place.
No,
Maybe not necessarily PSR, but there was financial rules in place.
No. It was a different era of football.
But like, would you
beginning of this era?
But Kelly, would you be opposed to what I'm suggesting is that there is no reason why any club in the Premier League couldn't get taken over by a billionaire owner. It doesn't have to be limited to. It was only back then there was 4 or 5, maybe even potentially 6 teams with really wealthy owners. What I'm proposing is the entire league could have the 20 richest people in the world all owning them. Like, it just allow the opportunity, because how are the likes of, I know I keep going back to Ipswich. Imagine any of the 3 that came up. How are they meant to compete against Man City spending 212 million in January alone, and they'll go spend another bloody 200 in the summer? They can't.
Well, it's happening, and teams are actually staying up. Those are a bit more financially clever. And what you're saying about why can't billionaires come in? Because it was the billionaires that put Portsmouth into administration 3 times. It was sold to 3 people that were billionaires.
But it was shitty billionaires. There's difference between... Doesn't matter. There's billionaires who are con men and snake oil salesmen, and then there are serious operators. And that's where the owner's test needs to be way more stringent, and whatever.
That's a different question.
Whether
the owner's test should be better, like Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers, that deal shouldn't be able to happen. But it is.
I also think that big clubs shouldn't be like hung up just to protect the little clubs, though. Like I don't believe that. Like, if clubs are on their own,
that's very Super League-y.
I don't think it is.
Oh yeah, it is.
How is it very Super League-y?
Because if you want the league to do well, you have to treat the league and the pyramid. You can't just cater to the big boys.
But we're not, like, this is the thing. We're not just catering to the big boys. We're literally...
Right now we're not, no.
I'm literally going, open the market. Let clubs do what they want. I've said I'm biased in terms of I'd love United to go and buy 2 70 million pound players and try and turn a season around, but that doesn't happen anymore. That's a thing of the past.
But the thing is, it just doesn't happen for United.
It doesn't.
How much did City just spend in this January window?
How underwhelming are those players, because they've been so inflated? Like, gone are the days of like a Gareth Bale level signing.
Again, that's a different issue. Those inflated fees to the Premier League came in when the £1 billion Sky deal happened. You cannot blame the rules for other teams going, well, you have the money, give me it.
Yeah, but I think myself and Nate's flaming pitchfork of argument comes down to 3 words: fuck the rules.
Like, we have the money, let us use it.
Yeah, literally.
And I'm literally saying, within the rules you can. And if you go out with the rules, take your licks. Forest can do it. You can do it. If Chelsea can do it,
that's not.
Killian, in a month's time, it's going to come out. Manchester United made 600 million this year.
Yeah, and if you had decent accountants, you'd be able to spend it.
But why should we be hamstrung to what accountants do?
Would you be better off spending 200 million in this transfer window and taking your 6 or 9 point deduction and ended up in
This is
15th?
why
Because what's
football is
13th or 15th?
This is why football's got diluted, because it's being managed by accountants, like
Yeah.
literally.
Suits run football these days.
This is why.
Do you want to know why these rules are in place? Do you want to know why these rules are in place? Look at Barcelona. If that can happen, I don't want that to ever happen to Man United.
It's not going to happen, though.
But at the same time, Barcelona will never fail.
Free market, it'll happen.
But Barcelona could be in the most, even doubly financially ruined as they are. That club's never going to fold. It's never going to be a Portsmouth.
It'll be sold, and it'll be sold, and it'll be sold.
These clubs
is that good? No.
These clubs are businesses. They should be run by themselves. If a club goes into administration and it's not due to this or that, like dodgy stuff, like that's a business. Like it's a business.
The only thing I will say with the business side of it,
with me. Do you know who agrees with me? Newcastle and Man United, considering they voted for it.
Yes, but I think that the playing field has changed, I think if we're gonna go down this whole financial hamstrung side of things, we just need to go fully like the NFL, where everyone has the exact same amount of money, and it's almost communist levels. Like it's one or the other. You either let the teams run riot, or everyone has the same pot to play with. Because otherwise the in between
what is so wrong with saying to teams, here, don't ruin yourselves. Because that's all that's actually wrong here. What is the name of the rule? PSR, profit and sustainability. Spend the money you actually have and can afford to spend.
But United can't. They're taking in 600. Like, I don't even want United to get the big players.
They're billions in debt by their own choice.
But you shouldn't, okay, think about it this way. Remove football from it. You're a business, I don't know, you sell pesto and you make 600 million a year. 600 million a year, and you're only able to go out and spend 100 grand a year on your CEO. That hamstrings your business. Why shouldn't you be able to go out and get a 15 million a year CEO? That would be able to happen in a business because they'd be able to spend their profits. But you can't in football.
But yeah, because the league, as a league, with majority rule, have decided to protect themselves.
Your Honor, I just like it on the record, is Manchester United did not vote for PSR. Chelsea abstained from the vote, and the 3 dissenting votes came from Manchester City, Manchester United, and Aston Villa.
Man United agreed to the Premier League rules, which is
they voted
majority voted.
They voted against the PSR. So just to put that out in the main frame. But why, as much as you want clubs that can't go under because they have to go in this model, what is wrong with letting clubs run themselves? Like
nobody's stopping them from running themselves. Just run yourselves better.
No, but they're saying run yourselves in this very strict lane that we've decided.
What is one of the best things about English clubs?
Money!
No. What's one of the best things about English clubs and the likes of a Barcelona, and why these clubs are too big to fail, is because they have heritage.
Yeah, it's history. And I know where you're going with this, and I do agree with you on this.
Keep the club forever instead of having... Why rely on a billionaire who could decide, you know what? No. Look at Abramovich. He had to sell the club because of things outside of football. We should never be in that position where that has to happen. The club should never be on the brink of disaster.
But any entity, again, take it out of the football world, any entity that is as valuable as a Premier League club or any top flight club is always going to change ownership multiple times.
But this is not a normal business. This is a business that is self-regulating. This is as if WWE, SmackDown versus Raw. Why would WWE let SmackDown run itself into the ground? No, that's not what's happening here. The Premier League has decided, let's protect ourselves. And that's what they've done.
My closing argument, Your Honor, is that I think at least if we not remove PSR, alter PSR is my option one. But B, scrap it and have an actually viable and stringent owners test. That like, because what you're judging are alternatives on is shite owners like Vincent Tan back in the day. You know, like that. Like, and yes, there have been. We could do a whole pod on crap owners. I think we even
including
have,
Man City,
but
before the
like,
current ownership.
name a club they've had a shite owner, but we shouldn't be judged on history for what we can do going forward, because the world has moved on and we just need to evolve that owner's test to make it actually worth anything, and then run free to a
Plus,
point.
plus, not to mention the rules contradict themselves literally.
Well, yeah, that we could be here for
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the rules are so contradictory that it actually makes a mockery of PSR in my opinion. So I think it should be scrapped.
I tell you, next week Killian will be sat there in a suit. He'll have joined them.
Well, the perfect is the enemy of the good, and I think that was a very good discussion, gentlemen. We'll leave it there for this week. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Conor Glennon and Nathan Byrne. I've been Killian Ginnity. We'll chat to you next week.
Bye bye.
Messi. Messi. Oh my